The Neokian admiral writhed in terror, floating in the crew suspension vat. The Neokian expeditionary fleet was the pride of their expansionist empire. Their energy weapons tapped directly into the vast energy of their propulsion core, the source of energy that makes twists in space-time hard enough to make interstellar travel possible. Their fleet was tailored to require minimal resources from outside. Over a long tour behind enemy lines, the fleet required no supply lines, and all personnel, from an enlisted grunt to the admiral, were suspended in their crew suspension vats to minimize fleet's material requirement to support crews. The Neokian Expeditionary Fleet was an independent mobile force with a deadly punch. It had been raiding countless human merchant ships since the war started, bobbing in and out of the periphery of human sphere of control. The Expeditionary Fleet's luck ran out, however, when they found a human convoy fleet with an exceptional size, with the same number of ships as theirs. It should have been a cakewalk, since Neokian ships outnumbered human combat escort ships by 5 to 1. The Admiral pounced on the opportunity to destroy the biggest specimen of the human supply colony Neokian had ever seen in this war. It wasn't a human convoy. What should have been an overwhelming raid turned into a slaughter of the spearhead that should lead the campaign against the humans. Dozens of damage reports from the heaviest capital ships poured into the Admiral's bridge every heartbeat. Much more screening ships became unresponsive without notice at the same time. The Neokian fleet was under unilateral bombardment from extremely long range, and the fleet was defenseless to it. It was clear that the hostiles engaged the Neokian Expeditionary Fleet from in a range so far, no turrets could hit its targets with a beam of energy. Their ships were excellent in evasive maneuvers, so a straight beam of energy would almost never hit its target this far. To hit ships from this far, one must have used guided weapons that could jump through space on its own, or send out strike crafts that could do the same. However, this can't be the case either, since there were no traces of such jumps in their near vicinity. Even if those munitions and crafts were already hidden in this place for an ambush, the firepower was incomprehensible. Humans had no industrial capability to manufacture antimatter on this large scale. Develop hundreds, if not thousands of warheads with their precious antimatter, just for an ambush that might not happen, must be a gamble in the realm of insanity. It had to be an energy weapon, but how? What kind of energy weapon was accurate enough to track down their ship so accurately, yet leave behind destruction on every hit so devastating, like an antimatter explosion? The Neokian Admiral couldn't find the answer. Or more precisely, the Admiral ran out of time to look for one, when several blue streaks of light pierced through the flagship's outer shields and created a huge explosion under the ship's armored hull. Kinetic energy. Adding an entire supply convoy to the fleet was the best thing to ever happen to our fleet. Vice Admiral David Crocker picked up a steaming ceramic mug and took a sip. So much for a fleet in a jar. Fighting a battle without caffeine or alcohol was a total nightmare. Sir, reports are coming in from our latest broadside. We've just completely pulverized their flagship with our salvo. The Vice Admiral stood up from his seat as the ensign reported the loss of the enemy flagship. No. Please don't tell me we've just decapitated their entire expeditionary fleet with just a single salvo, ensign. It is confirmed, sir. Multiple observations from our reconnaissance drones are consistent. Vice Admiral Crocker paused for a moment, and then picked up a microphone to make a shipwide announcement. This is Crocker speaking. To all hands on this ship, we've just made their flagship a pile of space dust. For our gunnery crews and guidance officers, your fire control is too accurate for this ship to handle, and you've just committed a barbarous crime of killing their esteemed admiral in a single salvo. To punish you for your transgression, I will double your rations of your choice, booze or cigarettes, and give you 2 weeks of vacation at port. Everyone else, you all also did a great job. Keep up the good work for the rest of the battle. Then he slumped to the seat as he turned off the transmission. It took a big gulp from the coffee mug. Which just became twice as long as we've expected. Should I be calling the Admiral and the logistics officer and tell them I'm sorry, Lieutenant? For what, sir? The communication officer of the battleship Olympus Mons asked the ship's captain. We're tearing through their ships, and they just lost their admiral in the chaos. Now there are nobody left to have the rest of their fleet disengage and make a quick retreat. Now we will have to pummel them endlessly until their ships disengage on their own initiative, or our admiral tells us to cease fire. You know the second option is never happening, Lieutenant. They must have done the same to us, sir, if we were the ones they were expecting, the Lieutenant answered. What kind of species would fill almost 80% of their main battle fleet with heavily armed logistic ships with minimal armaments? Humans, of course. Now all convoys will look like main battle fleets, and all battle fleets like convoys, at least on sensors. The main display in the Combat Information Center showed the external view of the massive battleship, as if they were working on a bridge. The screen shows several bundles of giant barrels lob huge projectiles towards the enemy fleet. Those projectiles left the barrel like a regular slug from a kinetic artillery, but then fired its own engine to accelerate away into the far space. The flames started white hot, and slowly turned red as it raced further away from the ship. Dear Einstein, if you are watching this, please forgive us for using what you found to throw rocks at aliens in a way that will make Hubble spill his coffee. As he thought to himself, Crocker sipped his coffee again. The communications officer relayed the Admiral's transmission to the ship. Vice Admiral Crocker, I just heard the battleship under your command just obliterated the enemy flagship. It was an unexpected surprise, Crocker. You know our crew, sir. Make a ship tow a target barge down the shooting range and our crew will cut its tow cable with our main guns. The battle just became longer than we expected because of it, Vice Admiral. Even with our new ratio between combat ships and support ships, you should know our stockpile of RAP ammunitions are not cheap, Crocker. The Admiral sighed. And I am proud of our crew making the most of it, sir. Vice Admiral Crocker said proudly. The RAP, or Relativistic Rocket-Assisted Projectile, removed all explosives from the inside of its slug and replaced the mass and space with an oversized propulsion system. The propulsion system would burn through fuel that fills half of the entire slug's volume and race towards the target like a drag racer. The kinetic tip was much less in mass compared to the entire slug, but by the time it reached the target, the tip would be speeding at 90% of the speed of light, high enough to simulate the devastation of an antimatter warhead of the same size. They won't be retreating from here because the one who would order them to retreat became a frozen dust, thanks to your crew who made the most of the expensive ammunition. If we have to fight all battles like today, entire Sol will run out of uranium to stick a huge rocket engine to. You know what this means, Vice Admiral. Olympus Mons awaits your command, Admiral. Vice Admiral Crocker smiled. We should make sure we have to fight battles like this as little as possible, Vice Admiral. This is where we win this war. The Niokian Expeditionary Fleet will cease to exist. Right here, right now. Give them hell, Crocker, and show them how we kill our enemies by throwing rocks from far away. Crocker saluted. Yes, sir.